I came across an opportunity to join the Government of Maharashtra in a program called the Chief Minister's Fellowship. Was placed in a team called the Chief Minister's War Room, which was headed by the CM himself. Yes, it is complex, but once you get into the government, you realize that the opportunity to make a difference is absolutely huge. And we were very, very happy that we were able to expedite projects worth almost $40 billion. From the outside, we think that the government is not doing anything. They should be using this technique to solve potholes. They should be making hospital better by taking these decisions, that they need to improve ease of doing business by taking these steps. Trust me, when you get into the government, every idea that you can potentially think of has been tried and probably not succeeded due to various factors. Very, very high-powered meeting. It would go on sometimes for 5 or 6 hours. But what we realized that in those meetings, 95% of the pending issues would get resolved just like that.
Also, you have worked with the PMC during COVID.
I remember that I was feeling very suffocated at home. So I worked out of the BMC office on the front lines for the next 8 months. We set up COVID-19 war room. We also used a lot of technology innovation. We were able to bring the situation under control, and Mumbai ended up being regarded as the city that managed the pandemic better than most other cities in the world. There was one individual who thought that AI was Air India. Another one thought that AI was artificial insemination. I was one of the founding members of Wadhwani Institute for Artificial Intelligence that develops artificial intelligence powered solutions for social impact. They just have to take a 5-second video, 3 to 5 second video in an arc-shaped manner by keeping the baby on the ground. And the solution automatically estimates the weight of the baby. And what our mandate is that identify some of the most critical challenges that are faced by underserved community in India and in the global south, and try and see if we can build AI-powered solutions to ease processes or to have a direct impact on the lives of those underserved. The overall knowledge that I built was great. The network that I built was great. Challenge yourself to compress it within a few sentences, not more than 2 or 3 paragraphs, no matter how important it is. Because you need to be that person who can be entrusted to do everything, no matter what.
Quitting CA on time versus keep giving attempts.
Quitting CA at the right time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the CA podcast. Today, our guest is Janak Shah. Janak has worked in a variety of areas. He has worked with the government of Maharashtra and the government of BMC as well. And also, he's a chartered accountant. So why should we not interview him in this podcast? So here's Janak for you. Hello, Janak. How are you?
I'm good, Swapnil. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast, and congratulations for starting such an exciting initiative, which I'm sure will benefit many chartered accountants and aspiring chartered accountants.
Yes, I'm hoping for that. So why not start with your journey? Were you interested in doing CA from start, or is it like by chance?
So it's been an interesting journey, to say the least. In school I was a science kid. I really loved physics and biology in particular. And I was certain that once I get into college, I wanted to go through that route of taking science as my stream, of studying for the IIT, getting in, and the usual. But I remember this one particular incident that just out of school, I was attending some of these webinars and these seminars at that time of various institutes. And there was a very prominent IIT coaching class that was starting its presence in Bombay. And I had gone and attended. And I just remember sitting there in that classroom and thinking that, hey, I don't think I can go through this whole grueling life, which they were talking about while explaining the various processes involved in getting to IIT, and then what life is like then. And my massive respect to the people who go through that journey. But I remember at that moment, like getting out and thinking that I don't think I can do this, and which is why I ended up taking commerce. Studied from Jain College, University of Mumbai, and once I was studying commerce, I knew that chartered accountancy is something that is advantageous. So that's how I made the choice, and here we are, 12 years later, and I think it was a fantastic choice.
How was your articleship and first job experience like?
For me, I think those 3 years, I learned a lot. One, I learned much about people management. As young 22-year-olds, we get thrust into that challenging job where you're expected to be at your best from day one without having any professional exposure. So that aspect I really enjoyed. Learned the basics of how these organizations function. I worked with a boutique CA firm that is very prominent and a tax audit tax advisor and an auditor to various large corporates in India. So I got a peek into various industries such as consumer durables, into the construction industry, into oil and gas, aviation, and many more. So I think the overall knowledge that I built was great. The network that I built was great. But I do know that in those 3 years, I had challenges in the team dynamics. I was full of energy and full of curiosity, and it was not always that the work that came to me matched up to those levels, right? Because there's only so much that you can
Yeah.
do. I was in the tax team, and a lot of my work involved filing tax returns and interacting with income tax officials on routine matters. But also, I was
Yeah.
more interested, and I was leaning more towards doing work that would involve impact on the ground, that would involve me getting a good sense of the global scenario.
Mhm.
So that while it was an important experience, it led me to make very different choices in life once I passed my CA.
Okay. Nice to hear that. But how did you end up with working with government? Please tell us that story.
Sure,
And
sure. So
what
it was
was
interesting.
that entire, sorry, what was the entire journey like? What were the challenges and what was the exact nature of work?
Sure, I'd be happy. So after I finished my CA in 2016, I knew I wanted to try something different. So I interned in Singapore with Unilever for a month. I came back. I joined a management consulting firm as
Mhm.
as an analyst, as a senior analyst, and I really enjoyed my work. Was there for almost 1 year, in which I worked with top CEO and CFOs of Fortune 500 companies. I used to travel at least twice a month to Dubai because most of our clients were there, and I worked on a
Nice.
wide variety of projects, which really challenged me, kept me up at night, and it really taught me a lot of things on the job, especially some skills, some problem solving and critical thinking skills, which otherwise in our academic career or during our articleship period
Mhm.
is not flexed much. So,
Right.
so I got to build those skill sets, which I think were quite invaluable. And just as I was about to finish 1 year in consulting, I came across an opportunity to join the government of Maharashtra in a program called the Chief Minister's Fellowship, which was started by the then Chief Minister, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis. I registered for it with a hunch and just went for the exam without much preparation. In hindsight, I would have done that differently. But about 7,500 people had applied that year,
Mhm.
and 50 then got shortlisted after three different layers of exams and interviews and essays. And I was fortunate enough to be one of them, which is when I started speaking to more and more people who had done that program earlier. I started
Hmm.
researching more,
Right.
and I was placed in a team called the Chief Minister's Boardroom, which was headed by the CM himself, which was, and our mandate was to expedite and accelerate all of the major infrastructure projects in Maharashtra that were stuck for decades. Like to give you an
Oh.
example, there is a Navi Mumbai airport that is now coming up in Mumbai, expected to start next year in 2024,
Hmm.
but you'd be shocked to know that it was first conceived in the late 1990s. Similarly,
right.
if you come to Mumbai, this at this point of time, you'll see lots of metro construction going on. Again, the metro master plan, all of the projects that are being finished were planned in the early 2000s. It's just that they never moved from paper into execution mode. So our job was to ensure that it does. And how we did this was to find out what are the various bottlenecks that currently exist, whether it's in terms of policy, in terms of land availability, in terms of finances, permissions from other departments, permissions from various central government authorities, such as the National Green Tribunal, or so on and so forth, and to chase people, chase files, and ensure that those bottlenecks are cleared and these projects go to execution mode. So that was one aspect. The second was emerging technology, which was very new to me because I didn't have much exposure to it then. But our team worked on some massive projects. I was one of the founding members of Wadhwani Institute for Artificial Intelligence, which is also known as Wadhwani AI, where I now work full time. And we set it up as one of the world's first AI nonprofits that develops artificial intelligence powered solutions for social impact. This was inaugurated by the Prime Minister in 2018, and it's completely revolutionized how AI is perceived and applied in India. And I'm very happy and fortunate to have been a part of its journey. And these were two major themes, but then there's a lot of work that I got to do while in the government. I organized an artificial intelligence innovation challenge in which we engaged with 350 startups, tied up with Google, Amazon, gave those startups, winning startups, an opportunity to work with the government for a year. So yeah, that's a sneak peek into what I did, and it in hindsight was one of the best decisions I made to make a switch in my career.
That's really, really fascinating and very interesting, I guess. And what was the experience like, dealing with bureaucrats and ministers? Was it like were you intimidated by their, stature and their aura, or was it very casual from the beginning, or like very formal? I don't know what's the decorum was, but like how was it, and how was the interactions?
Sure, that's such a good question. It was a tough choice even making this decision, right? Because when I was getting into it, my well-wishers, friends, and family, they did tell me that what you're giving up is a traditional career path of working as a professional CA,
Yeah.
climbing the corporate ladder, which is a stable path, and choosing the path in which you're joining the government, which does not have the best reputation, at least to the outside world, if somebody was to
Right,
work
right.
in a fellowship that is for a limited tenure of only 11 months, at a very significant financial cost, a huge pay cut, which was not a decision point for me, but still an important one to consider in the larger scheme of things. And I decided to take the plunge after interacting with a lot of people that I would be working with. For example, my manager, he was the officer on special duty to the chief minister, Mr. Kaustubh Dhavse. He is an MBA himself, a lateral entrant to the government. He studied at SP Jain and at Harvard, and he's been CXO at various companies, founded various organized successful tech organizations of his own, and he had given all of that up to give back to the society, to work in the government. And having interacted with all of them, seeing that there is an opportunity for me to also contribute to the growth of my city, my state, and my country is what the motivating factor was. And once I got into it, of course, at the start, it is a bit intimidating because of all of the stories that we hear, because just
Yeah.
how complex entire government system it is. But then my manager and the chief minister, who was the head of the war room, they made me and my teammates feel at ease. Their guidance was simple, that if you are uh, here to make a difference and your intentions are pure, then there is nothing that you should be hesitant about in terms of getting work done. Uh,
Hmm.
the only piece of caution was that remember that whatever it is that you do or whoever it is that you speak to, you're doing it as a representative of the government of Maharashtra. So your
Right.
conduct, your behavior, your persona has to be respectful towards others, but at the same time, don't let anything get in the way of achieving our goal, which is to ensure that all of these projects start on time. So that I
Right.
think was super duper helpful. We had the freedom to speak to all senior level secretaries or ministers in chief minister's war room meetings that we used to have every month, headed by the chief minister. Every single head of every agency or department in Bombay used to be on the same room. We would put up slides talking about particular projects, what is the progress that has been made. We would have drone shots of the current status, and we would list down that these are the 10 things uh,
Hmm.
that are very critical to the project and need to be achieved. These milestones need to be achieved for construction to start. And we used to write the name of the agency with which it's been pending, how long has it been, and what deadline they have to give that permission or to release those funds or to make that land available. And all of this would be presented in front of the chief minister. Very, very high powered meeting. It would go on sometimes for 5 or 6 hours. But
Wow.
what we realized that in those meetings, 90-95% of the pending issues would get resolved just like that. Um, and to just give you a sense of how much freedom we were given, is that even in these meetings, we had the opportunity to get up and put forward a point of view, even if it might be uh, different from what
Hmm.
someone else in the room might have to say. So it was, I think, fantastic. We have some of the brightest individuals working in the government. Yes, it is complex, but once you get into the government, you realize that the opportunity to make a difference is absolutely huge. And we were very, very happy that we were able to expedite projects worth almost $40 billion.
Really, really great, yeah. I am sure that a lot of skills would have got developed by during that period. So, would you like to talk about that? Like, because I'm sure, like you talked about what skills you honed up while doing the consultancy role. So, similarly, there are different kinds of skill sets that might be required for in a government setup. Tips or any learning points that you would like to share to people, like dude, that is the skill everyone should have. So is there something like that?
Sure, I think there were a few skills that I picked up along the way. First and foremost was the importance of stakeholder management. It is so important to bridge the gap between various stakeholders, right? Specific to the government. The government is an elephant, which is a term that is well used. But only once you get into it, you realize how massive and how complex its operations are. And from the outside, we think, as laymen, that the government is not doing anything. They should be using this technique to solve potholes. They should be
Right,
making
right.
hospitals better by taking these decisions, or that they need to further improve ease of doing business by taking these steps. Trust me, when you get into the government, every idea that you can potentially think of has been tried and probably not succeeded due to various factors. One of
Hmm.
the big reasons might be interdepartmental communication. It's each, especially in a large state like Maharashtra, you have
Yeah.
multiple departments um, doing work worth lakhs of crores, and there's at any point of time at least 100 various initiatives, schemes, or decisions that are on the table of the secretary of that particular department. So things can often get lost in that. Priorities can change rapidly. So to be able to create that bridge between various stakeholders is something I learned, and I saw firsthand the results of. I described to you earlier how these war room meetings used to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It's simply that we were collating all of the bottlenecks that exist and what are the milestones that we need to cross in order to achieve success. Compiling all of that information, putting it in front of the decision maker, which was the chief minister, and in front of the executioner, which is all the departments and the agency. Put them all in the same room for a few hours, resolve each and every pending issue then and there. If there is a dispute or a contradictory view, the chief minister, as the final authority, gives his decision, final decision, or parks the matter for some other some additional information. But it was just simply that I could tell you in complicated terms about how we functioned and the minutes of the meetings serving as orders, or us ordering land surveys to be done for projects, releasing financial grants, or using drones. But it's simply as pure as that getting people in the same room, ensuring that they're talking to each other. So stakeholder management was one very, very important lesson. Second is also simplicity. It is so important in our communication, in our way of working, to just keep it absolutely simple. Earlier, the war room had existed for a couple of years, even before I had joined.
Okay.
There were also various initiatives through the years to do this sort of project monitoring. And what would often happen is that officers would walk into this meeting. For each project, they would have 50 slides. Right? First, they would talk about what is the history of the project, when it was started, what are the decisions that the various government took, then what is the current status. Then they would list out 200 problems, that the contractor has not been paid, that the land has been encroached upon, that the other finance department has not released money, that there is a policy that has been pending for the last 7 months. And then they would include photos and videos of all of these projects. But none of this would lead to cohesive decision making, right? So we simplified this entire process, that in the war room presentation that we show to the chief minister, we will just show 5 things. We'll have 5 columns in a very simple table. One is what is the name of the project. Second is that what is the bottleneck or the permission that is stuck. Third is that who are the agencies that are responsible for building the project, right? Fourth column is that who are the agencies with whom that permission is stuck, or those that need to make a decision in order to close that issue. And fifth is the deadline by which they have to do it. And those deadlines were very tight, mind you, 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, right? For maybe some complex issues like bringing out new policies and all, even that used to be given a deadline of maybe 2 months, if not less. And we kept it simple, and suddenly we started seeing crazy results. So the same project that the officer used to take 50 minutes to describe earlier is now getting discussed in less than 15 minutes. And not only is it getting discussed, but all issues are getting cleared. All permissions are being given. Files are being signed right then and there. So this is what I often try to incorporate even till date in my working style, that simplicity is king, that nobody has time to read 8 paragraph long email, right?
Right.
Challenge yourself to compress it within a few sentences, not more than 2 or 3 paragraphs, no matter how important it is. If you want to convey more than that, ask for a call, or make your communication more precise, be more to the point. Yeah, and the third lesson that I learned, and I try to imbibe in my working style each passing day, is that fancy degrees, buzzwords, trainings, none of those matter if you can't get the job done. I think that's one key principle that you should have, is that you need to be that person who can be entrusted to do everything no matter what. And you'll naturally see that the trust that your manager, that your seniors, that your team have on you will just increase exponentially. Subconsciously, they will know that, hey, this is one guy or girl who we can trust. He'll get it done. He'll get it done in this much time. So that's something I've tried to imbibe, and even till date, I am making an attempt and hopefully try to work on it throughout the rest of my professional career and in my personal life.
Also, you have worked with the BMC during COVID. So, what was that like?
Yeah, so it so happened that my fellowship was originally only for 11 months tenure, but then I was given an extension and appointed as an advisor to the chief minister's office. So I stayed on for a couple of more years after that. And after that, I knew that I had learned a lot from the government and also identified uh, AI for social good as an area that I was very, very passionate about. So I ended up joining Wadhwani AI, which I was naturally inclined to because it was like my baby that I'd helped start from when it had zero employees. So I joined Wadhwani AI, and the next month is when the pandemic first hit the shores of Mumbai in March 2020. And just like everyone, my work was happening from home. The lockdown was on, so there was not much movement. And it was disheartening to see the news, to hear stories of people you know struggling to get hospital beds, about the numerous fatalities that were happening, because it was clear that the entire system had collapsed, the healthcare system, the government system. And not just in Bombay or in India. This was all over the world because we were not prepared for this. And I used to see my colleagues struggling, the ones that were still working in the government, some of the IAS officers that were also my mentors. I would see them on the ground trying to manage the pandemic the best they could. And I remember that I was feeling very suffocated at home for not being able to help, which is why I called my mentor, Mr. Praveen Pardesi, who was then municipal commissioner in BMC in Mumbai, and I offered myself for any kind of work he would have for me. So he told me to join the next day. So I worked out of the BMC office on the front lines for the next 8 months with Mrs. Ashwini Bhide, who is also an IS officer and was working as a additional municipal commissioner then and even now. We set up a COVID-19 war room, and I had this experience from working in the chief minister's office. So we set it up. We got other volunteers on board. We had a tough time initially because BMC had a employee strength of almost 5,000 people, but there were less than 300 that were working at that time due to various factors. The lockdown was on, travel
Yeah.
facilities were not available. People above a certain age of 50 were not permitted to come and work. And there was also the whole fear factor, right? Nobody in their right mind wanted to get exposed to the virus because even everybody has family back at home. So it was challenging, but we set up systems, streamlined processes, and we also used a lot of technology innovations to radically transform how the pandemic was managed in Bombay. And within a few months, we were able to bring the situation under control. And Mumbai ended up being regarded as a city that managed the pandemic better than most other cities in the world. And this was
Yeah.
also acknowledged by WHO and multiple international organizations. So it was a scary yet a very fulfilling 8 months. And my salute to all of the COVID warriors that were out there
You were
risking
one
it
of
all.
them.
No, I was just a small part of the entire machinery. But it was a tough time, one that I will never forget.
Nice, nice. Now, what exactly is the role at Wadhwani AI that you do?
Like I said, Wadhwani AI was started by us as the world's first, and even now that holds true, that it's the world's only non-profit technology company that is building AI tools for social impact. Um, the journey has been incredible. Uh, since we were inaugurated by the Prime Minister in 2018, we were about 8 employees then. We're almost 200 now. So the growth
Wow.
has been exponential. We are funded by the Wadhwani brothers, who are Indian-born American tech entrepreneurs, and by prominent organizations such as USAID, Google.org. We have H&M Foundation, the German government through GIZ, and so on. And what our mandate is that identify some of the most critical challenges that are faced by underserved communities in India and in the global south, and try and see if we can build AI powered solutions to ease processes or to have a direct impact on the lives of those underserved. So our focus currently is on healthcare, on education, on agriculture, and on climate change. And we have over 30 different solutions that are at various stages of development and deployment. And each of these solutions, by the way, could be spun off into a separate startup. So we just have a super high functioning team that have built all of these solutions. And to give you a few examples, right?
Yeah.
In healthcare, for example, we've built a solution to measure the weight of a newborn baby using just a simple feature phone, which has a camera. So what happens in today's age in rural areas is that Asha and Anganwadi workers, which are healthcare workers of the government, go from home to home to measure the health of a newborn baby. And they measure the weight by carrying a clunky spring balance, right? Which is heavy, often broken, and can give inaccurate readings. And all of this data was recorded on registers, right? So it was not digitized. And what this led to, and was one of the causes, was of a high rate of newborn fatalities. And India is among the leading nations, unfortunately, with those numbers. So our AI scientists developed a solution with which that same healthcare worker in their phone, they just have to take a 5 second video, 3 to 5 second video in an arc-shaped manner by keeping the baby on the ground. And the solution automatically estimates the weight of the baby along with other parameters such as height and so on. And it's been a very ambitious solution to make. Once it's fully ready and deployed and scaled, we believe that it will have a game-changing effect, not just in India, but across the developing world. And very, very happy to share that at current performance, the solution is almost at 95% accuracy of weight measurement.
Wow.
And it has enabled digitization of the entire process, right? So not only is it making it easier to identify babies that might need further healthcare interventions, but also improving the lives of the healthcare workers who now have the tool to be able to simplify the whole process and to digitize the records and the weight measurements that they are doing. So this one's a pretty ambitious project that we're expecting to announce news on by the end of the year and to roll it out in various parts of the country.
Wow, that's really awesome. And then now I would like to just ask you a few questions regarding what do you feel chartered accountants can do with their existing skill sets in if they want to jump to such kind of work, like maybe AI and the other one is government. So what do you think? How can someone get into these kinds of professions?
I think the one big advantage that CA students have is that you're plunging into the corporate world before probably anyone else, right? Through the form of articleship. So you're already
Yeah,
learning the ropes uh, at a pretty early stage in life, and you're getting a head start, which is very, very important. Having said that, I think one very, very important aspect is to not restrict yourself, to not put boxes around yourself. That while you have specialized in taxation or auditing, you must remember that chartered accountancy gives you a holistic understanding of various different subjects. Right? It's not
right,
just about accounting. It's also about IDT. It's about indirect and direct tax. It's about finance and so on and so forth. So there's a whole host of skills that we inadvertently pick up
right,
through this entire process. So just keep your ears and eyes open for exciting opportunities. There are many consulting firms out there that are keen to have dynamic individuals such as chartered accountants in their team. There's a lot of chatter that all of us heard, right, while studying CA. And if I don't get a rank, it's probably even worth applying to Boston Consulting Group or to McKinsey, or that
right.
working in the government is going to be damaging to my career, or how can I become work as an intern after having passed my CA? How can I take a pay cut? There are just these restrictions that we end up putting on ourselves, and it has a lot to do with people who've gone through that journey and maybe have had those experiences, but all of those are individual, right? It shouldn't stop us from trying. Today, in
Right.
fact, with technology, there have been rapid advancements. AI is no longer a tech which is inaccessible to everyone. With something like Chat GPT, large language models, and generative AI,
Yeah.
it's at your fingertips, right? So even though it might not directly relate to your education at this point of time, it
Hmm.
is very important that you're up to date with what's happening in the world. Online courses by Google, by Stanford, by Harvard, some of the topmost universities in the world that are on their website and available for free. Check out Coursera. There are so many courses on even data science. Um,
Yeah.
so, so, so we need to move beyond this whole mindset of studying because we need to. Uh,
Hmm.
but it should be geared more towards upskilling yourself, just so that you will continue to be a top draw and an attractive hiring prospect for any place that you aspire to work with.
Right, right. You rightly said that because a lot of people, like after a particular point, get into that comfort zone and they don't just want to evolve afterwards. So I think from that perspective, it is a really, really nice advice. So now I would like to jump on to some rapid fire kind of questions. So you just don't think much and just give some
Sure.
answers. Okay. So first, so articleship in big firms like Big Four or Big Eight versus medium-sized firm.
Big Four. And this is an advice from someone who didn't work at a Big Four.
Okay. Prioritizing studies versus articleship experience.
Prioritize passing your CA first. And having said that, don't go in for dummy articleships or anything like that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, you should know that once you pass your CA final, uh, after that too, you will continue working. But it is important to get that out of the way so that you're not losing out on more time in your career.
Cool. Then quitting CA on time versus keep giving attempts.
Quitting CA at the right time.
Okay. Doing usual roles with higher or decent pay versus taking a pay cut and learning something new.
Learn something new whenever you have the opportunity. But at the same time, doing good work should not necessarily involve you to take a pay cut. It is not a choice that you need to make in today's time, because there are a lot of organizations, for example, consulting firms. that do social impact work, such as Dasra, such as FSG, right? And they also are competitive in terms of their pay. So I think do whatever that excites you, and don't just follow the herd. Is how I would put it.
Nice, nice. Now, I would like to just give you some time to rant about anything related to CA.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure,
it's the flourish is yours.
sure. Sure, I'm happy to. So I everything that I've learned is because of all of the mistakes that I've made, is all the bad judgments that I've had in the early days of my career. Uh, Overall, I would say that chartered accountancy as a course is fantastic. The professionals are playing a very important role in the growth of India as it stands today. Having said that, I think the way the whole professional circuit and the education space is changing, it might be prudent for CA to catch up with the times overall as a course. That
Yeah,
for a student to dedicate his early years into the course, right, spending 3 years in articleship, where the pay is very little in most organizations, and I
yeah,
don't agree with that. CAs should not be just another inexpensive resource in an organization. They work equally hard while learning on the job at the same time, and they need to be compensated accordingly. That needs to be fixed. Second is that 3 years might be too long a time for somebody to have compulsory articleship. That needs to be relooked at, and I believe that steps are being taken by ICI in that direction. And third is on the course curriculum side, that while it is important to have knowledge in the areas that ICI currently focuses on, but also more practical aspects of technology would be so helpful for CA to know. Like we've all studied ISCA, right,
yeah.
which is
It was a
a
nightmare.
subject that almost everyone favors. Yeah, people don't like it because it's not kept up with the current times.
Yeah,
It's all bookish knowledge, full of jargon that is not relevant in today's time, and it's rote learning.
yeah,
And how cool would it be for final CA to have uh, uh, chapters on, say, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and other emerging technology, and how it relates to accounting, taxation, to finance, right? And
right.
a lot of more practical curriculum around various subjects. So I think these three major changes from a overall course perspective needs to happen. And for uh, students that are currently studying, I always tell them, and this might sound like repeat advice, but it's so important. Just keep an open mind about the possibilities that exist for you in today's world. Be very intellectually curious about everything that is
Hmm.
happening, not just in your city, state, or country, but across the world. Times are moving fast, and professions, skill sets are getting irrelevant by the day. So it's very important to upskill yourself. And third is that don't ever study or work under your own pressure. You should know that your own health, your own well-being is supreme. At any point of time, if you think that you're not no longer want to take CA as a career path, or that you have invested a lot of time in clearing your exams, but it's just not happening, it is okay to take a sabbatical or to quit and to explore a new career path. I think just having embarked on that journey of chartered accountancy, you end up building a lot of resilience and a lot of knowledge. So there will be
Yeah,
something out there waiting for you. So know that this is not the end of the world, and that it's a long race. Don't waste all of that energy on a sprint and think that it's ended.
nice, nice, nice advice. So, all the best students who are listening to this, and don't get disheartened with any kind of failure or any kind of bad results. Just keep working hard. And now I would like to ask the last two questions. First is, what are you currently obsessed with?
Um, There's a couple of things that I can think of at the top of my head. One is that, like I was mentioning, right? I've been working uh, on AI solutions for almost the last 6 years, and I remember that
Yeah.
early in the days, 2017, 18, AI was not an active topic, especially in government circles, right? So I used to take startups to various officers and have meetings. There was obviously a lack of thorough knowledge of what the technology is, and there's one particular conversation pops up in my mind specifically, which is that we had a conversation with an officer and his team for almost 15 minutes, and we were talking about AI and that how it could enhance processes within the department and so on. And at the end of it, there was one individual who thought that AI was Air India. Another one thought that AI was artificial insemination. So that is
Wow.
what we were working with then. But look at it today.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I was recently giving a talk in Jammu to a body of small and medium enterprises. And there were 60, 65-year-olds who've not been that technologically active, who were asking me about Chat GPT, who were asking me about Mid Journey, who were trying to, figure out how is it that they can use those technologies to further improve their businesses. Uh, so it's a great moment
Yeah.
in history for humanity where all of these technologies have become democratized and are available at everybody's fingertips. And this is just the start. It's just been 7 months now since these ChatGPT was one of the first large language models to be released, and you're going to see so much more in the next
Yeah.
3 years. So that's something that I'm currently obsessed with. Suddenly, there is interest, there is knowledge, and
Yeah.
there is a keenness to be a part of this technology. And second is that I watch a lot of football and try to play a little. Uh,
Nice.
so I've been supporting Manchester United for almost 16 years now. So it's been interesting to follow that, and it's a good distraction from work and all the challenges that we face. And third is that I've been traveling quite often within the country and outside the country, sometimes for work, sometimes for pleasure. And that has been something I've really enjoyed and look
Nice.
forward to whenever it's meant.
Awesome. And last question is about any recommendations, like book recommendations, movies, web series, documentaries, courses, anything under the sun, whatever you would like to recommend, finance, non-finance, doesn't matter, anything.
Sure. I have been reading books for a long, long time. Not as many as I would like to, but I do know that some of the first books that I read, right, which I really liked. One was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Another one was The Alchemist. And I like reading a lot of biographies and autobiographies of various successful individuals. I was reading Elon Musk's autobiography recently. I was also reading a book by Phil Knight documenting his journey about how Nike was
Yeah.
started. And I generally like reading fiction a lot more. So the Paulo Coelho's and Jeffrey Archers of the world. And
Yeah.
one last book that I would heavily recommend to anyone is a series called India's Most Fearless. There are
Okay.
3 versions out. It's written by a prominent journalist, Shiv Arun, and it has real life stories and documentation of various conflicts or incidents that the Indian armed forces have been involved in, whether it's the Chinese skirmish in Galwan or many other stories that our Army, Navy, Air Force has been involved in. Spoken from a very personal perspective of the individual who passed away or who helped India, or played a contribution in saving his colleagues. Very, very interesting. I've finished each one of those books within 2 days after it being in my hands.
Wow, really nice. Thank you for all those recommendations. So that's it, I think, from this episode. And I really thank Janak for giving me time. And it was really, really pleasure. And I hope people get influenced and think out of the box after watching this interview.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me here, and I wish you all the best for this new series that you've started.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Thank you so much.